Australia, New South Wales, a suburb of San, a charming place near the ocean. The year 2002 was a happy one for the local James family. Jamie and Peta had their firstborn daughter, whom they named Lily. This event brought great happiness to Peta's mother, the newborn girl's grandmother, Barbara Adelt. The elderly woman was immediately charmed by the pure blue eyes and blonde curls of the baby. Not far from the James home was the Bay of Cotard, and in general, there was a mild, comfortable climate, and Lily's childhood was spent on the ocean coast. There were no more than 20,000 people living in Sanaa, and many people knew each other, and news traveled almost instantly, and the James couple enjoyed great respect, and their firstborn was loved from birth. A few years later, the couple had a second child, this time a boy, named Max. His father worked at the local girls' school, teaching his charges to play water polo. The institution was considered elite and was located in Hartsville, the entrepreneurial center of Sydney. Not surprisingly, when she grew up, Lily came here. Studying was easy for her. As easily she made new acquaintances and friends. When Max began to study at school, her older sister helped him with difficult subjects and occasionally did his homework for him. Lily proved herself not only in her studies but also in sports. Her father taught her to swim and then attracted her to water polo. In high school, the girl showed artistic abilities. She was accepted into the school theater club and dance studio, and in this niche, she achieved success. She managed to mesmerize the audience as an actress and dancer, and one day she had a great chance to prove herself and achieve greater popularity. It was only necessary to perform worthily at the Eastford Festival. This event opened opportunities for young talents in different creative niches: theater, dance, music, and so on. Contestants were evaluated by a qualified jury and treated with constructive criticism. Also, the festival had serious sponsors and implied valuable prizes for the winners. Lily expected at least to be in the top 3. In the drama competition, she read a monologue from the play Macbeth by William Shakespeare. In the performance, she competently conveyed the emotions of the main character and used skillful gestures. As a result, the judges liked her idea, but she lacked a few points to win. However, even the second place in the theater category, Lily was very happy. In sports, the girl achieved a triumph, winning the local junior swimming championship. In 2018, when Lily was only 16 years old, she had already received a driver's license, successfully overcoming the exam at the driving school at the first attempt. A couple of years later, she was already graduating from secondary comprehensive school. At the ceremony of awarding certificates, the girl radiated light and confidence in the future. After high school, Lily enrolled at the University of Technology in Sydney. Here, her goal was a bachelor's degree in sports management. Since 2021, the girl combined her studies with part-time work. She got a job coaching a children's water polo team at St. Andrew's Cathedral School. This position greatly fascinated the girl, and often she turned the lessons into an entertaining competitive program, which caused respect and love among the students. Lily, by virtue of a special approach and a young enough age for a coach, quickly became close to the wards and helped everyone in the discovery of his talent. At the same school, a certain Paul Thiessen, born in 1999, also worked as a coach. They often crossed paths with Lily. At first, it was a simple hello and bye. Then the acquaintance began and developed. He was born in Holland to the Thiessen couple, Steffa and Esther. They had a serious income and provided the child with everything he needed. In 2015, the couple moved to Australia, more precisely to Sydney. There, the father initially performed service tasks. Paul was enrolled in the school at St. Andrew's Cathedral. There, the boy was later taken to the cricket team, in which he soon became captain. Also, the guy actively participated in community affairs, planned and conducted various events. Many peers respected him, but some considered him selfish and arrogant and treating girls as things. He believed that anyone was willing to date him because he was incredibly popular in school. In 2017, he graduated from this institution, and the administration offered him to work as an assistant head coach of the cricket and hockey teams. The guy agreed, and for almost a year he was satisfied with this position. And in 2018, he himself already became the main mentor in these sections. And in this work, showed an extraordinary approach with an interesting system of incentives. By that time, his parents had returned to their homeland. And at some point, he flew back to them. It seemed strange because everything was going great at work. He went on to complete his master's degree, upgraded his coaching qualifications, and returned to Sydney. In early 2020, he met his longtime hockey buddy there. They rented an apartment in Kensington, a suburb in the east of Sydney. Paul returned to work, and his expanded responsibilities included watching other teams and coaches. So he knew exactly the schedule of all the sectional sessions at the school. And so after one practice, he met Lily James. The guy also added a load in the form of work with a hockey student team from the University of New South Wales, in addition to teaching physical education at another university. Despite the busy schedules and constant communication in society, Paul suffered from loneliness because, in fact, he had no personal life. Particularly negative in psychological terms on the guy was affected by the pandemic COVID-19. On March 18, 2020, a state of emergency and a strict quarantine was introduced in the country. Paul was temporarily left without work and human communication. He didn't communicate with anyone, even on messengers and social media. And in this mode, his life continued for almost 1.5 years. Isolation changed his attitude towards the world around him and people. In the summer of 2021, the pandemic weakened significantly, and the quarantines were lifted. Life returned to normal. And Paul resumed coaching work with children, then joined a famous hockey team, became its leader, and achieved great popularity. He was even invited to star in commercials. It was 2021, the height of the sports season. The guy had a crush on a girl and wanted to transform a friendly relationship into a romantic one. True, in parallel, there were rumors that he flirted with underage female students from different teams, and some wards perceived him as a pervert. However, such words came from teenagers, and colleagues in the coaching profession perceived them as fictions. After all, Paul Thiessen has built an excellent reputation. In addition, on his shoulders rested a powerful achievement: the entry into the finals of the City Hockey League. Even if his team lost there, the second place was also treated as a success. It was September 9th, 2023. His molestation of young girls remained at the level of rumors, and in his personal life there was progress. The guy invited Lily on the first date, and the girl agreed. The meeting was almost perfect and became the starting point of a stormy romance. And the couple decided not to show their relationship at work, to keep them in mystery from underlings and colleagues. The girl easily coped with this task, but the guy got upset and revealed the secret to the students. As a result, rumors spread lightning fast through the educational institution. As a result, in October 2023, Lily learned about the deed of her boyfriend, and she did not like it. She felt cheated. For Paul, the disclosure of the secret seemed a trivial trifle. For the girl, a betrayal. He talked about walks and dates with her, and some colleagues and students began to look at her with judgment. Eventually, Lily decided to end the affair, which at that point had been going on for 5 weeks. She realized that Paul was not someone she could trust and build a serious relationship with. This intention struck the guy. He persuaded the girl not to leave him, promised to correct herself. But Lily was not going to change her decision. This meant the end of their short union. Paul was having a hard time with the breakup, angry with himself and with Lily. The pain transformed into anger, and terrible thoughts appeared. On the background of rage, he conceived an atrocity. He did not cool down, and the next day, and on the contrary, developed a cruel plan. October 25th, 2023. Lily went to the university in the morning after classes arrived at school for another training session. At the same time, Paul arrived there in a rented silver car. He did not leave it, waiting for all the children to disperse to their homes. The practice ended at about 7 p.m. 20-30 minutes later, all the students went home. Paul, armed with a hammer he had recently bought at the hardware store, headed for the school gym. He waited until Lily went to take a shower and followed her, forgetting that all his actions were being captured by surveillance cameras. The girl was alone in the shower room. Paul crept up to her and hit her hard on the head with a hammer. Death was instantaneous. The killer then stayed at the crime scene for another hour and watched the victim. Once he was sure Lily was dead, he took her cell phone and backpack and left the shower room. Once again, he was caught on camera. Next, he headed to the El Gap neighborhood in the suburb of Watson Bay, where there are numerous cliffs. His next move was bizarre. It was back to school, where he was again captured by cameras. Late that evening, Lily's parents tried to contact her. The silence in response startled them. Anxiety appeared and grew, then came despair. They headed to the police to write a missing daughter report. The police responded promptly, and the search for the girl began. And at about 10 p.m. on Peter's phone, Jamie, the father, received a text message from Lily's phone. "Dad, pick me up urgently from school. Can't leave after practice." It all seemed pretty strange, and at 11 p.m., the emergency desk received an anonymous call about a dead girl in the shower room at St. Andrew's School. The caller turned out to be the killer himself. His footsteps appeared erratic. After the call, he tossed his ex-girlfriend's backpack and that sinister hammer into a trash can, got into a rental car, and drove to the cliffs at El Gap. There, he stopped next to a cliff, got out of the car, walked to the edge, and looked up and down for a long time. Emptiness and freedom seemed tantalizing, and he stepped into the abyss. It was the last step in his life. Law enforcement officials reacted immediately, and even before midnight, a squad arrived at the school. And indeed, in the place about which the anonymous person spoke, they found the already cold body of the girl. Her face was disfigured, which caused difficulties in identification. The first thing the officers paid attention not only to the corpse, but also to the wall-mounted video cameras. All recent footage was to be taken from them. It was also necessary to trace that anonymous call. Then the officers intended to identify the caller and get more information from him about the incident. It's a work in progress. Forensics identified the number's owner as Paul Thiessen. Calls were made to him. So far, he wasn't seen as a suspect, they just wanted to talk to him. But he didn't answer all the calls, so they had to use technology to track the phone itself, and they led police to the El Gap neighborhood. On October 26, 2023, officers cordoned off the area, conducted a thorough search. First, they found a bloody hammer, and later they found Paul Thiessen's belongings. After the searches, police contacted the school's administration and asked them to cancel classes until the investigation was complete. Immediately, news of the murder in the shower room formed. Many parents and students panicked, but calmed down a bit when it became clear that it was not a student who had died. His identification began with video camera images. Next, the police analyzed the nature of his relationship with the victim to identify his motives. Since the guy had disappeared and was not in contact, the specialists put forward the version that he was also not alive, perhaps he killed himself. And search helicopters and boats were sent to the rocks in El Gap, where the guy's belongings were found. At the same time, the head of the police, Martin Philman, talked to the press, announced the name of the main suspect in the murder of Lily James. It's Paul Thiessen. The meaning of this statement lay in the possible help in finding the location of the killer. On October 27, 2023, local construction workers were beginning their regular workday. Their site was centered near the top of one of the cliffs. Only the work never started. The laborers saw a floating body near one cliff and immediately reported it to the police. Law enforcement officers, together with rescuers, arrived promptly. It was raining heavily, which made it difficult to remove the corpse from the water. Still, after 5 hours, the operation was successfully completed, helped by a helicopter. The next task was to recognize the body and establish identity. The remains were delivered to experts. Thanks to fingerprints and other DNA, a set for identification was formed. It was sent to the Embassy of Holland. Also, specialists compared them with camera recordings. The result of all the examinations and procedures was as follows. The corpse found near the rock is Paul Thiessen. Lily's parents stayed up all night, unable to find peace. On the morning of the 26th, their daughter's body was examined by forensic experts, who also identified her. And soon, Jamie and Peta James received the fatal news. Their daughter had been brutally murdered with a hammer. The news shocked not only them, but everyone who knew and respected and loved Lily. And soon, her friends and acquaintances arrived at the James home. All were genuinely heartbroken. Even strangers, having learned about the incident, carried flowers and soft toys to her house, expressed condolences to her parents. A few days later, the family of the deceased agreed to talk to journalists, and in an interview, she admitted to the strong grief of loss and gratitude to all those who support them in such a difficult time. And during the investigation, they are still refraining from comments that would address the killer. In the meantime, Lily's students, friends, colleagues, and classmates have organized the following performances, started a social networking public in her honor, where everyone shared glowing memories of her and condolences. An improvised monument was erected in front of the school where she worked, near which flowers and letters were laid. A video of Lily's performance at the festival, her reading of Macbeth's monologue, was posted on the school website. Headmistress Julie McGonagall praised Lily, admitting that she had never met such a strong-willed and determined girl. As the murder of Lily James took place within the walls of an institution where all pupils should feel completely safe, the principal issued a statement to the community. The tragedy that has occurred is terrible, but it is a spontaneous crime, and such incidents will not happen here again, and all children will remain absolutely safe. And the atrocity committed by the perpetrator does not characterize this educational institution as a whole, and pupils can safely continue here to receive knowledge and attend sections. The horrors forced the institution's directorate to make the following reforms: restricting access to the gym for students, no visits after 7 p.m., transforming the library into a center for psychological counseling without prior appointments, completely closing the block where Lily's murder was committed, building a new shower room. The investigation was underway. The police were doing their work. The local press was also active. The journalists contacted a qualified and experienced criminal expert and forensic psychologist. His name was well known in professional circles, Tim Watson Monroe. He agreed to appear on TV and be interviewed. In the interview, he answered many questions, the most intriguing of which were the following. First, did Paul Thiessen realize he was committing murder, and what would be the consequences of the atrocity? The answer is that the murderer was a man of inflated self-esteem and fragile psyche, unable to perceive denials. Second, was Paul's motive a kind of revenge? Answer, yes. In his mind, Lily, who rejected him, was an enemy who inflicted a huge offense. Third, was the crime and subsequent acts committed in a fit of emotion? Answer, absolutely. Besides, after the murder, the lad consoled his ego. That wasn't enough for him, so he taunted the victim's parents by texting them from her phone, asking them to pick her up from school. Fourth, why did Paul call the police with a report of a murder at the school and then jump off a cliff? Answer, the call is a psychopath's game. His jumping off the cliff is a display of defiance of the law and unwillingness to forfeit his freedom. Overall, Tim characterized Paul Thiessen as follows: a narcissist, a prideful person with manifestations of psychopathy, a couple that could have been happy had a 5-week affair. And all hope was dashed by a resentful, arrogant man. His parents refused to take his remains to Holland. Their solution was to cremate the body. They then scattered his son's ashes on a beach in Sydney. His victim, the unfortunate Lily, was buried on November 17, 2023. The ceremony was held at the school where she studied. The relatives gave permission to a local channel to broadcast from the event. More than 500 people came to the funeral service. All of them at the request of Lily's parents, dressed in brightly colored robes and brought the same colorful flowers, as this is what their daughter wanted. A particularly emotional speech was made by the father of the deceased, thanking his daughter for being so light and bright, and asked all parents to take care of their children. Around noon, a hearse arrived. A white coffin with Lily's body was loaded into it. As it drove away, all the seeing-off people sent Lily on her last journey in tears. The next day, the The parents gave another interview in which they confessed that they would never forget their daughter. And Lily's grandmother was able to speak to the press after such a bereavement almost a month later, and also spoke a series of warm words about her granddaughter who had gone before her.